The Galactic Council chamber was a place of light and power. Huge pillars of crystal rose to a ceiling, so high that the air seemed to shimmer. Around the circular table sat the leaders of the galaxy's most powerful species, creatures with eyes like molten gold, skin of living metal, wings of shadow and flame. All of them were looking toward the center, where one single human stood. Ambassador Jonathan Howell did not bow. His hands were steady at his sides, but his voice was calm when he spoke. "You are making a mistake." The council leader, a tall alien with 4 glowing eyes, leaned forward. "Humanity has broken the rules of peace. You interfered in wars that were not yours. You gave weapons to worlds under council control. You are dangerous." Hale's gaze swept the room. "We saved those worlds. You call it danger, we call it survival." A ripple of cold laughter filled the chamber. The alien leaders raised their hands, one after another, casting their vote. The result was clear before the last hand went up. "By unanimous decision," the leader announced, "Earth is exiled from all star systems under the Council's reach. Your ships will leave our space within 1 cycle. Your colonies will be stripped of protection. Any human found in our territory after that will be destroyed." The words echoed like a death sentence. Billions were watching across the galaxy. On distant worlds, humans working side by side with aliens felt their stomachs sink. They were no longer welcome anywhere. Jonathan Hawley stepped forward, his voice steady but sharp. "You believe you have ended us. But remember this, humans. Do not die quietly. One day we will return. And on that day, you will remember this vote." 2 guards moved toward him, massive reptilian warriors with armor like stone. They escorted him out of the chamber as the council moved on to its next business, already acting as if humanity was gone from history. On Earth, the news spread like fire. Screens lit up in cities and spaceports. Some people cried. Others were angry. Ships that had been allowed to dock in alien ports were suddenly turned away. Trade routes collapsed overnight. Whole colonies sent desperate calls for help, but the Council's patrols blocked any human fleet from reaching them. In orbit. Above the moon, the United Earth Fleet gathered for the last time within Council space. Hundreds of ships, freighters, science vessels, and the few warships humanity had left floated in silence. Admiral Cara Vance looked out from the bridge of the Resolute, her jaw tight. "We have our orders," she told her crew. "Every human ship is to leave Council space, no exceptions. Set course for the uncharted sectors." The stars stretched out before them cold, empty, unknown. But no one spoke of fear. Humans had lived through worse. They had crossed oceans on wooden ships. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. Space was just another frontier. As the fleet moved away from the familiar star lanes, Jonathan Hale's words were replayed across every human broadcast. His warning became a promise. "We will return." Days turned into weeks. The humans pushed deeper into uncharted space, far from any map the Council controlled. They found empty planets, frozen moons, and dark asteroid belts. Food was rationed. Power was scarce. Yet something began to grow, an idea that exile was not the end. In hidden corners of the fleet, engineers whispered about building ships faster than anything the Council could track. Scientists studied alien technology brought by refugees who had escaped with them. Soldiers trained in secret, perfecting strategies for wars that might never come, or might come sooner than anyone thought. One night, aboard the Resolute, Admiral Vance called a private meeting with Hawley. The room was small, the lights dim. "You spoke of returning," she said. "If we do, it won't be as beggars. It will be as something stronger." Hawley nodded slowly. "They took away our allies. They took away our homes. That leaves us only one choice, make our own. An empire? Vance asked. Hale's eyes were cold, but steady. Not an empire the way they know it. Something more. A dominion that no council can touch. If they fear us now, let them see what fear really means. Outside, the stars burned bright in the blackness. The human fleet was alone, but it was. Not broken. It was only beginning. And somewhere, in the cold space beyond known maps, the seeds of that dominion were already taking root. Cliffhanger for Part 2. Far beyond the human fleet, a faint signal blinked from a dead system coordinates to something the Council had hidden for centuries. The humans were about to find it. Asterisk, the human fleet drifted in the silent dark. Stars glimmered far away, but here in the edge of the galaxy, the blackness felt heavier, like the space itself was watching. Food was rationed to crumbs. Engines ran low to save fuel. Children asked when they would go home, and no one had an answer. But through the hunger and the cold, one truth kept burning in every heart. This exile would not be their end. Admiral Kara. Vance walked the main deck of the Resolute. Crew members stood at their stations, faces pale in the blue glow of control screens. Even in silence, the tension was heavy. Every day they pushed farther into the unknown, farther from maps, farther from safety. In the communications bay, Lieutenant Ortega called out, "Admiral." Another message from the mining ship Atlas. They found a planet with water, but no atmosphere. Vance sighed. Mark it. Move on. We don't have the resources to terraform. Jonathan Howell, standing beside her, leaned on the rail and scanned the star chart. We need more than scraps, Kara. We need something the Council can't take from us. What? Are you suggesting? She asked. He didn't look at her. A place to build. A place to grow strong. Days later, the answer came from an unexpected source. A small freighter named Silver Wing, captained by an alien who had escaped the Council's grip, approached the fleet. Its captain, a tall, four-armed being named Sarek, stepped into the briefing room. His voice was low and urgent. I have something for you, Sarek said, placing a small black cube on the table. The surface glimmered faintly, like it was alive. Hall narrowed his eyes. What is it? Coordinates, Sarek replied. To a place the Council has kept secret for centuries. A system they marked as dead to hide what's there. Vance's gaze sharpened. And what exactly is there? Sarek leaned closer. The Forge, a station the size of a moon. Built before the Council even existed. It can build fleets, entire fleets. In months. The room went still. 3 days later, the human fleet set a course. The journey took them through Dead Zone's regions, where stars were dim and the only sound was the hum of the engines. They passed ruined stations, drifting in silence. Once, they crossed paths with a massive creature floating between systems, its glowing eyes following them until they jumped away. When they finally reached the system, it was exactly as Sarek had promised dead. No active signals, no planets with life, just a single frozen world orbiting a dim red star. But on the far side of that world, hidden in the planet's shadow, something vast hung in space. It was black as the void, shaped like a ring 100 kilometers wide, its surface broken by jagged towers and docking spines. Massive arms reached out into the emptiness, as if ready to grab the stars themselves. The Forge. Hala whispered. The first landing teams moved in cautiously. The station's air was stale but breathable. Ancient lights flickered weakly. In the endless corridors, entire hangars were big enough to hold cities. Deep inside, they found the heart of the Forge, a control chamber filled with alien machines. The language was older than any known script, but their engineers worked day and night, decoding systems and restarting reactors. By the end of the week, the Forge was alive again. Docking lights glowed red. Massive assembly lines groaned to life. Pulling in raw metal from asteroids. Vance stood at the main viewport, watching as the first black hole warship slid out of the assembly bay. "This is it," she said quietly. "Our home. Our power. Our revenge." Hale placed a hand on the glass. "From this day forward, we are not exiles. We are the Dominion." But as they celebrated, the darkness around the forge was not empty. Far beyond the edge of the system, hidden in the shadow of a drifting rock, a small drone pulsed a signal toward the core of Council space. The message was simple. "The humans have found the forge." Asterisk. The forge was awake now. Its great rings spun slowly, pulling in asteroids and grinding them into raw material. Its black towers glowed with new power, and the sound of giant machines echoed through its halls like the heartbeat of something ancient and alive. For the first time since exile, the humans no longer felt like wanderers. They felt like builders. Admiral Vance stood in the central control chamber, watching the massive display screens. Dozens of black-holed ships floated in the construction bays, each one sharper, faster, and deadlier than anything humanity had ever built before. "How many can we make in a month?" she asked Chief Engineer Rana Malik. Rana smiled for the first time in weeks. "If we keep the lines running, 40 warships, maybe more." Vance crossed her arms. "And stealth systems?" Rana tapped a glowing panel. "Better than stealth. The forge's original design bends light and scrambles." Scans. "To the Council, our ships will be ghosts." Jonathan Hale entered the chamber, wearing the dark uniform of the Dominion's new command. He had been the voice of humanity during the exile. Now he was something more. "They'll come for us," Hale said simply. "The signal from the spy drone is already in their hands. That gives us months, maybe weeks." Vance turned to him. "Then we don't wait for them. We take the fight to their edges, cut their supply lines, test their borders, make them afraid before they even see our fleets." Hale's eyes narrowed. Fear spreads faster than fire. The first Dominion fleet launched at dawn cycle. 5 sleek ships slid out of the forge's shadow, their black hulls swallowing the light. They moved in silence, engines burning low, until they vanished into the deep. Their target, a small Council relay, stationed on the edge of neutral space. The station's guards never saw them coming. The Dominion ships drifted close, matching the rotation of the station. At the exact moment the sun's glare blinded the Council's sensors, the humans struck. Railgun rounds punched through the station's shields in seconds. Boarding pods latched onto the hull. Dominion Marines stormed in, moving fast and silent. Minutes later, the humans were gone, taking every scrap of intelligence from the station's core systems and leaving only a drifting husk behind. Back at the forge, reports came in. The Council was confused. Their news channels called the attack piracy. Their generals claimed the humans had been destroyed long ago. But the whispers were spreading. The exiles are back. More allies began arriving. Small ships from species the Council had oppressed slipped into the forge's hidden corridors. They offered food, weapons, and soldiers in exchange for protection. Hale welcomed them carefully. "You fight with us. You live under our law," he told them. "We are not the Council, but we are not weak." Weeks later, the forge's first true monster rolled out of the assembly line. It was called the Black Sun, a battleship the size of a city, armed with weapons from both human and alien designs. Its railguns could punch through moons. Its stealth field made it disappear from all scanners. Admiral Vance watched it rise into open space, a dark silhouette against the distant star. "With this," she whispered, "the galaxy changes." Hale stood beside her. "This is only the beginning." But far away, deep in the Council's core worlds, the High War Chamber met in secret. Around the table sat the most dangerous beings. In the galaxy, one of them, a massive insectoid general, tapped a claw against the table. The humans have the forge. If they finish building their fleet, the balance of power shifts. Another, with eyes like molten gold, hissed softly. Then, we burn the forge before that day comes. The forge's hidden docks were alive with motion. Engines roared. Ship crews ran along catwalks, loading weapons, locking armor plates into place. Black-hulled warships floated in the dark, like predators waiting to hunt in the command center. Admiral Kara Vance stood over the tactical map. Every line, every flashing marker, represented a target inside Council space. Jonathan Hall entered quietly, but his presence filled the room. The Council is sending a fleet toward us, he said. If we wait, they'll find the forge. Vance's eyes stayed on the map. Then we won't wait. We'll strike first hard enough that they remember why they feared us. The plan was brutal and simple. 4 Dominion fleets would move at once, each targeting a different Council outpost. No warnings. No declarations. The attacks would happen on the same day, within the same hour. The Council wouldn't have time to react. Fleet 1, led by Vance herself, was headed for Garon 6, a key fuel station for the Council's border patrols. Fleet 2 would hit a communications hub near the Corin Nebula. Fleet 3 targeted a military shipyard, building long-range destroyers. Fleet 4, the smallest, had the most dangerous job, infiltrating deep into Council territory to destroy a political transport carrying 2 of the Council's highest-ranking generals. When the order came, the Dominion moved like lightning. The Black Sun led Fleet 1 through a hidden jump point straight into the Garon 6 system. The station's defenses lit up in panic, but their scans showed nothing, only shadows in the void. By the time they realized the shadows were warships, it was already too late. Dominion railguns tore through the station's shield generators. Fuel tanks erupted in blue fire. Human Marines boarded in seconds, disabling systems and pulling every scrap of data from the mainframe. Vance's voice crackled over the comms. All units, break off. No prisoners, no delays. Within minutes, Fleet 1 vanished into hyperspace, leaving nothing but a burning ruin where Garon 6 had been. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. At the Corin Nebula, Dominion saboteurs cut power to the communications hub before the defenders even knew they were under attack. Explosives ripped through the antenna arrays, silencing one of the Council's main information networks. The military shipyard was struck even harder. Dominion stealth fighters slipped between defense patrols, planting magnetic charges on half-built destroyers. The explosions lit the station like a second sun, and deep in the Council's inner systems, Fleet 4 succeeded beyond all expectations. The political transport never made it to its destination. Its wreckage was found drifting toward a dead star. The bodies of the generals were never recovered. The galaxy reacted in shock. Council news feeds tried to blame pirates, rebels, anyone but the humans. But soldiers and civilians alike knew the truth. The attacks were too precise, too coordinated, and the stories whispered in the shadows all carried the same words. The exiles have returned. Back at the forge, Halle stood in the strategy chamber as reports came in. They'll come for us now, he said. Not just to patrol everything. They have. Vance didn't smile, but her voice held a quiet satisfaction. Good. Let them come. They'll find we're ready. In the Council's war chamber, fear was starting to crack the unity of the alien leaders. This is what happens when you leave a predator wounded, one hissed. It comes back stronger. Another slammed a clawed fist on the table. Then, we burn them out before they grow stronger still. We know where they are. We strike now. But a third voice, older and calmer, cut through the shouting. No, not yet. Let them think they are safe. Let them spread themselves thin. Then we strike, where it hurts most. A forge was louder than ever. New fleets were rolling out every week, and the hangars echoed with the hum of engines and the clang of steel. Refugees from dozens of alien species walked its halls, some wearing the black insignia of the Dominion. Others still unsure if they could trust humanity's promise. Jonathan Hale moved through the corridors with his face hidden behind the black mask of a Dominion admiral. Few in the forge knew who he really was, the same man who had once stood in the council chamber as Earth's ambassador. His identity was a weapon, to be revealed only when the moment was right. But for all their growing power, Chile felt it. Something was wrong. It began with small things. Supply convoys going missing between asteroid stations. Ships suddenly losing navigation in safe space. Weapon systems failing during test runs without any mechanical reason. Admiral Kara Vance stormed into the strategy room one morning, slamming a data tablet on the table. "This is sabotage," she said. "Not accidents. Someone inside the forge is feeding the council information." Chief Engineer Rana Malik looked pale. If that's true, then they could know our production rates, our fleet locations. Vance cut her off. Or even the forge's coordinates. Hale's voice was calm, but the steel in it made the room fall silent. "Find the leak, quietly. If we accuse the wrong person, we'll fracture the Dominion before it's even whole." The investigation began in the shadows. A small team of human intelligence officers followed every cargo run, monitored every encrypted message leaving the forge. The trail led them to the refugee quarter, a sector filled with new arrivals from alien worlds who had sworn loyalty to the Dominion. Among them was a technician named Virith, a reptilian engineer who had proven himself valuable in repairing alien systems. But hidden in his quarters was something no one expected. A silver device no larger than a coin, its surface etched with council symbols. When they activated it, a single pulse of light blinked in the darkness. A location beacon. Hale entered, the holding cell personally. Virith looked up from the bench, his golden eyes cold. "You think you are different from the council," Virith said. "But you will rule as they did. You will crush worlds as they did." Hale's masked face tilted slightly. "And what did the council promise you for betraying us?" Virith's smile was thin. "That I would live to see you burn." Before he could say more, Vance stepped in. "He already sent the signal. The council knows where we are." The Dominion's response was instant. Every ship at the forge was ordered into defensive positions, stealth fields activated, weapons charged. The great ring of the forge itself began to rotate faster, its assembly lines shifting into rapid production mode. And then the long-range scans lit up hundreds of council warships, breaking into multiple attack formations. Moving straight for the forge. In the war chamber, Vance studied the incoming fleet. They're committing everything. This isn't a raid, this is extermination. Hale removed his helmet slowly. The room froze as the officers saw his face. "Some of you know me," he said. "Some of you only know the mask. But you all know what's coming. This is the moment we've been building toward since exile. They wanted to erase us. Instead, we'll erase their power." Across the galaxy, alien worlds watched the Council's armada move. Some prayed for the humans to lose. Others whispered that maybe, just maybe, the Council was about to meet its end. The forge hung silent in the void, but every inch of it was alive with purpose. Black-hulled warships floated in tight formations, engines cold, weapons primed. The massive Black Sun battleship stood at the center, its armored flanks lined with railguns the size of city towers. In the command chamber, Admiral Kara Vance stared at the tactical display. Red markers, hundreds of them, crept closer with every second. "They'll be in firing range in 9 minutes. reported Lieutenant Ortega. Vance's voice was steady. All stations, prepare for combat. No retreat. On the far side of the galaxy, the second blade of the Dominion's plan was already in motion. 3 stealth fleets named Ghost Spear, Iron Fang, and Silent Tide were gliding through Council space, their hulls wrapped in darkness. Their orders were simple. The moment the first Council weapon fired at the forge, they would strike at the Council's heart. Jonathan Hawley was aboard the Iron Fang fleet's flagship, staring out at the distant shimmer of the Council's capital world. Once this begins, he told his crew, we finish it. No half measures, no mercy. Back at the forge, the Council fleet emerged from hyperspace. It was a wall of war capital ships bristling with guns, carriers launching fighter swoons, destroyers spreading out to flank the forge. The alien commander, a towering insectoid in crimson armor, sent one final transmission. This is your last chance. Surrender the forge and face judgment. Refuse, and there will be nothing left of you to bury. Vance didn't reply. She simply cut the transmission and gave the order. Fire. The battle exploded into light and sound. Dominion railguns ripped through the first wave of enemy destroyers. Council plasma blasts hammered the forge's shields, shaking the grate. Ring, but not breaking it. Stealth fighters darted between enemy ships, planting charges that tore through armor. The Black Sun moved like a predator, its cannons tearing massive holes in the Council's formation. Every shot pushed the enemy line back, but more ships kept pouring in. In the middle of the chaos, a massive Council dreadnought broke through the Dominion's flank and charged directly toward the forge. Target that dreadnought. Vance ordered. It was too late. The alien ship unleashed a beam of white-hot energy that smashed into the forge's outer ring, ripping apart one of its docking arms. Debris and fire spun into space. For a moment, it seemed the Council had the upper hand until the Dominion's real strike began. In Council space, alarms screamed across the capital world. The Ghost Spear fleet decloaked above the planet, its railguns already firing. Government towers shattered. Defense satellites exploded before they could respond. Moments later, the Iron Fang Fleet Hail's fleet appeared over the Council's main shipyard. Massive explosions lit the night side of the planet as half-finished warships were torn apart. The Silent Tide hit the communications core, silencing the Council's command network across an entire sector. The war had become a two-front nightmare. Back at the forge, enemy formations began to falter. Messages from the Council fleets were breaking apart confused orders, desperate calls for reinforcements. The alien commander realized too late that the humans had never planned to just defend the forge. They had planned to gut the Council's heart while its armies were away. Enemy fleet is falling back. Ortega shouted. Vance's expression was cold. Don't let them escape. No survivors. The Dominion pressed forward, chasing the retreating Council ships and cutting them down one by one. The black hulls of humanity's warships carved through the void like knives, leaving wreckage. Drifting in their wake, by the time the last enemy vessel was destroyed, the forge still stood. Damaged, burning in places but unbroken. Vance opened a channel to Hawley. The forge is secure. What's your status? On the other side of the galaxy, Hale's voice was calm. The capital is ours. The war was over. The Council's fleets were gone, either burned in the void or scattered to the farthest corners of the galaxy. The capital world lay under Dominion control, its skies still streaked with the smoke of battle. Inside what had once been the Council's grand chamber, the air smelled of scorched metal and ozone. The ornate banners of alien empires had been ripped down, replaced with the black and silver crest of the human Dominion. Jonathan Hall stood at the center, wearing the Dark Admiral's uniform, his face still hidden behind the mask. Around him, chained and under guard, sat the surviving leaders of the Galactic Council. Admiral Caravance entered quietly and took her place at his side. "The galaxy is watching," she said. "Every world, every system. This moment will decide how they see us." Hale's gloved hands reached up to the mask. The sound of its locks releasing echoed in the silent chamber. Slowly he removed it. Gasps filled the air. Some of the alien leaders recognized him instantly. The human ambassador they had exiled years ago. The man they had dismissed as weak. "You," hissed the insectoid warlord, his voice shaking with both fury and fear. "Yes," Hale said, his voice calm, but carrying through the hall like a blade through the dark. "You cast us out. You took our homes, our allies, our future. You thought exile would break us. Instead, it forged us into something stronger." He stepped forward, looking each of them in the eye. "The Council is no more. From this day forward, the galaxy will be united under the Dominion. Humanity will rule not for greed, not for conquest, but because none of you can be trusted to keep the peace you claim to defend." One of the alien leaders spat on the floor. "You will become the same as us. Power corrupts human. Soon you will be tyrants." Hale's expression didn't change. "Perhaps. But we will be tyrants who remember what it's like to be powerless. And that memory will guide us." The Dominion's flag was raised over the chamber. Across the galaxy, broadcasts showed the image of Hyle standing over the defeated council, his voice declaring a new law. "Oppression ends today, but order will remain. Those who aid the Dominion will prosper. Those who oppose it will vanish into the void." In the days that followed, the galaxy reshaped itself. Species once crushed under the Council's rule now stood beside human fleets as equals. Trade routes reopened, but only under Dominion oversight. Systems that resisted were swiftly brought to heel by black-holed warships appearing in their skies without warning. Some called it liberation. Others called it the rise of a new empire. Weeks later, Hall walked alone along the Forge's observation deck. The great ring spun slowly, its docks filled with ships, its lights casting silver across the dark. Vance approached, her voice quiet. "Done," she said. "The galaxy is ours." Hale didn't turn to face her. "No," he said softly. "It's never ours. It belongs to whoever has the will to hold it. And if we ever grow weak," Vance finished the thought for him, "someone will take it from us." They stood in silence, watching the endless stars. Somewhere out there, Hale knew, seeds of resistance were already being planted. But now the Dominion was unchallenged. Humanity's flag flew over worlds that had once mocked them, and the name of the exiles was spoken with both fear and respect. And in the cold vacuum of space, the Forge kept turning, building, preparing for the day the galaxy might need reminding who ruled the stars. Asterisk.